human trafficking is that the trend is restorative justice, which is not about punishing the other person, because that person that's doing that bad stuff or making those bad choices, they are just another hurt child that's in a grown body with a child mind and needs support to be able to do better. And that's where the restorative justice comes in, because we don't want to be punishing people. We just want them to do better. Right.
Well,
And
I like that term. I've never really, explored that or heard that, but, you know, and if you think about it in these situations where there's injunctions, at the end of the day, people ask me, well, what happens? I'm like, well, the judge either says the injunction's granted or denied. I was like, it's like the other day, like I was trying to explain it to a person and they were kind of struggling with it. And I actually took the light switch, flipped it up, flipped it down. I was like, it's either on or it's off. It's either the injunction's on and it's granted, or it's off and it's not. That's all you're going to hear. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really do anything to educate the victim on how not to fall back into these circumstances or how to protect themselves from these circumstances. And it doesn't offer any help to the person who's maybe has anger management issues or is going through something psychologically where they're not thinking clear. And to get those problems addressed, it's just stay away. Thank you. Leave my courtroom. But the underlying problem is not addressed except for the immediate just don't get near each other.
those
And
people will
I tell people
still.
all the time too, like one of my big concerns with injunctions is if I'm going to file one for somebody and I'm going to be the petitioner, I explain to them a sheet of paper is just a sheet of paper. And you still call 911 and you tell them I have an injunction. Maybe they'll get there faster, maybe they won't. I can't tell you if the cops will get there faster or not. I do know it's its own independent, crime to break an injunction. But at the end of the day, I have law books all in my office, and those are all sheets of paper, and those things get broken daily. So, is this really what you want to do? Is this really the best mechanism to get you out of the situation, or would it be better to move? Would it be better to explore other options for you? It may be in concert with the injunction, but yeah, but there's no in domestic violence court as I know. I've never seen a judge in my 20 years order any type of lying programs, anything like that to really try to not only put a band-aid on the problem, but actually fix the root problem where maybe this won't repeat, or maybe these people get the help that they need. The victim needs help, obviously, he needs the protection. The person who's exercising the uh, abuse or coercive control, they're obviously going through something, or maybe need some classes, counseling, etc. to do this. But if you think about it from an injunction, even if the injunction works, they stay away. They then go back into another relationship. Maybe they're lucky, maybe they're not. Maybe they fall back into the same pattern because they think that's normal
Mhm.
and they're back in an abusive relationship, or the abuser never really becomes self-aware of the problem and is right back in domestic violence. A lot of the times when I see cases where we're defending someone who's been accused of domestic violence, I'm shocked when I go to the docket and I see that there's multiple throughout years from different partners, or, because it's definitely a pattern. And even though they've interacted with the court system, 5 times with 5 different, there's no therapeutic, restorative
No.
mechanism being implemented to try to address the underlying problem and maybe teach the person coping skills so they don't continue to go out and do this.
Uh,
That's my thing. I probably wouldn't be a good legislator because I would probably have a sober budget really quick with programs and
mhm.
restorative justice and
Well,
therapeutic
we need that.
processes.
But we need that. Listen, what you're saying is so right, because I've seen that. Like the people that are the survivors, they've had injunctions filed against other people. If they're, the thing is, yes, it would be great if we had the resources. So if we came up with something, where maybe we can do a class or something. I mean, they came up with batteries intervention. That was a step in trying to do something to start getting at the root of the problem, right? But it's not just a one person problem, because there's two people in the relationship, and I'm not saying that the survivor or the protective parent, right, is to be blamed, because then that will be victim blaming. But what I'm saying is that that person needs to also relearn, and also needs therapy, and also needs support. They both do, because
Yeah.
otherwise they're going to keep falling into the same patterns over and over again.
Well, you keep having this positive and negative
Hmm.
colliding. And even if it's not the same people, same particles, the patterns keep reoccurring, and it creates like a chain reaction. And then unfortunately, everything, we get down to like primary cause and then like the secondary effects, and secondary effects for these kids because they're going from, one unstable relationship to another, or they're witnessing the domestic violence, or they're witnessing this pattern of my mother was abused and then I saw her get abused again. And then
Hmm.
that becomes their normal.
Correct.
And then they either, becomes a lot of ways the abuser or the person, being victimized.